Hey everybody, back with another video. This is, I don't know which one this is, but it's another episode in my CRT tube restorers, Sencore tube restorers, testers, video series, whatever. This one is called a Big Mac. It is a universal CRT tester by Sencore. Again, I picked this up off of eBay, relatively inexpensive. And this thing is a beast. I mean, it is big. The nice thing about it, I'll move it over just a little bit, is it came with a ton of adapters, and I love how the adapters are held in to the cover. So most of these I can't use for an arcade purposes, but it does have that. I'll link to my Sencore CR143 video, does have these amp connections types of adapters, as you can see there. I think there's 14 pins, if I'm not mistaken. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 11 or 12 actually pins. So it doesn't have 14 pins. It has like 11 or 12. No, 11. 11 pins. Actually, this is something I covered in my CR143 video, where somebody actually has a good document of how to make adapters for the Big Mac, or the CR168 is what it's also known as. But yeah, there's 11 pins on that amp, and unlike the CR143, we actually are going to be able to do an adapter for socket CR23, which is typical for K 4900s, 4600s, G07s, etc. Alright, so this thing came with a manual. 1981 Universal CRT setup book. Seen some better days. It definitely looks well used, obviously. Very dirty. But I also have the 1993 version of the same book, which is really nice and clean, as an example. Which kind of is interesting is this does have, a lot of these old restorers don't actually have a ground plug. This one does have a ground plug, and it's still on there. So that's good. Came with some additional sockets, 17 and 18, as you can see here. So no place to put those. You have your test cable, as you can see, and we're going to have to probably verify that this is still accurate. That black should be slid up there. Alright, whatever. I'll slide that up and retighten that down probably. A little bit of rust in there. Nice little place to hold your book. Just like that. Will it hold the 1993 one? Yeah, just like that. Cool. And just as I was mentioning, has a ground plug disable function. So I don't know what year this thing was made, but obviously either the late 70s or very early 80s. It can adjust, I think, all three guns simultaneously, obviously. Somehow. You probably can't display all three guns, so you have to, press those buttons there. Has a filament set, HK, G1 shorts, gun balance, emissions test, tracking, which is probably high tracking, I guess. One of these is high. Gun balance might be low tracking. Tracking might be high tracking. Then it has 3 different rejuvenation settings. So we'll go through that. I have never even tested this, so we need to hook up our universal adapter most likely, or make a universal adapter and test this thing somehow. Or maybe I just use the pinout. The pinout should be what you see over here. So F1 should be black, F2 it should be pin 11, and I think I covered this in I've got to go back and watch my own video to see which one's pin 1 and which one's pin 11. I think this is, if you hold it up, I believe this is, does it actually say? No, I'm going to go look and make sure I have it right. This is why I film my videos, is really for me almost half the time. I was able to go back and watch my CR143 video where I actually covered this. And when you're looking at the connector this way, pin 1, it's counterclockwise. So where there's the notch, this is pin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And so our filament volts are between pin 1 and 11, like this. So I should be able to measure these if I turn the unit on. I have no idea if it's AC or not, but that should work. There we go, if it lets me. So let's go ahead and power this thing on. I don't think I've ever even powered this thing on. I have no idea if it works. Okay. And it doesn't seem like, what, do I get a power light? I get a power light, but I get nothing on my meter. Alright, so my meter's not working, but my voltage is. So, and I am in AC voltage. So for this, sometimes the restorers have DC voltage, and sometimes they have AC voltage for the heater element. Either one's fine. So I have this turned all the way counterclockwise. 3, 4. 4 is reading about 4.9 volts. Let me put a little bit of resistance on it. Alright, 3.3, 4.9, 6.5. And to measure this now, like in the CR143 video, we're probably supposed to put some type of resistor in between here, but with my auto voltage, there is a little bit of resistance, a little bit of load, but not enough. We probably need like a 5 ohm or 5.7 ohm resistor. So very unfortunate that that my meter is not reading anything at all. Alright, so got it. We definitely are going to have to do some work on this thing. And let me see, check some other voltages. Alright, well, I got working on it and not paying attention to what I was filming, obviously, but I wanted to look at this meter and I found a good, I'll link to somebody else's video, but basically one of the things that video said is, I didn't know anything about analog meters, so I took this off and it says it is a full-scale 200 microamp DC, I think, meter. And it's an analog meter, and it says this guy did like the shake and go kind of test. So like kind of shake it. Whoops, I don't know how I'm doing that with the you see that? Like how much the needle's moving. And then ground the two terminals. Let me see if I can do this real quick. So I'm going to ground the two terminals on the back, and that should prevent the needle from moving, and it doesn't. Yeah, if you can see that. So I think that meter is jacked. Is basically, I'm going to go ahead and pull the meter out and then put it on my DC test to see if it actually moves at all. Before I do that, I just figured I'd show the inside of it. This thing has, it looks like two transformers and basically a multi-switch resistor and a very simple circuit board there, as you can see. I believe this should be the positive side of the meter, this should be the negative, so just recording that. Orange-white seems to be positive. I think the positive is on the left, right? Is that right? Yeah. Oh yeah, it even says positive on there, so underneath of that, so right there, you can see the positive there. But yeah, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's transformers and, you know, some resistors, a capacitor, a big ass capacitor, 450 volt, but basically 100 microfarad, 97 microfarad, full 50 volt, and then a couple 10 microfarad capacitors. I mean, it's pretty analog. I mean, there's not much to it. There's no digital stuff going on in there. All right, let me disassemble this thing. Okay, recently, not too recently, but I had picked up these tri-output power supplies by BK Precision. I don't know, what's the model number? Oh, 1650. 1650 tri-output power supply. So I have, you know, on my A, I have my power supply. My positive lead goes to my meter. I have my meter set to microamps. That goes to a 10K resistor. I'll link to the video where I got the idea for this. And then that goes to the positive side of the meter. The negative side goes back to negative on my power supply. So we want to basically see if any voltage is going to adjust this meter, and we'll read the amps as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and turn this thing on, I guess. Alright, and I get no reading there. Let's see if both of those are in. I'll adjust my voltage now. Well, I'm getting no reading at all. So yeah, I think that means I'm up to like 10 volts. So, and the meter's not moving at all. Interesting. If I change this to amps, do I get any amp reading here? Yeah, nothing. So I assume this meter is jacked up because my little test is not working. When I grounded it, the meter's still like bouncing around and stuff like that. So I think there's something maybe mechanically wrong with the meter. Not sure. Well, I know why my Bremen wasn't measuring amps or milliamps. Damn fuse was bad. Now I have to order a damn fuse, which is kind of crazy. So this is like some weird it's ultra fast 400 milliamps, 0.4 amps, I guess, so 1000 volts. I'm gonna order on Amazon. I saw a 500 milliamps. I have no idea if that's a good idea or not. It's, you know, 100 milliamp difference. It says here max fused, max 600 milliamps. So why wouldn't I be able to do 500? Everybody's trying to buy these 400s, and they're expensive and harder to find. You can get like the 500 milliamp ones for like $2. I don't get it. I tried to read about it, but whatever. All right, distracted. Anyway, I know that my little test was working, I think, but my meter wasn't moving at all. So, and it's supposed to be 200 microamps. I even tried it with a 1K resistor as well. Right here, you see that. So, instead of a 10K. That's it. I should have shown it before, but I figured I have a big thing of 5-gallon thing of Evaporust, and using one of my kids' snow things to kind of submerge part of the Big MACK 168 case in there. It's kind of rusted in the bottom and stuff, so I'm gonna let it sit in Evaporust for at least a couple hours or so, and then come back and try to clean it up and stuff. I'm also doing some tumbling as well. Alright, quick little progress update. This is a few days after the Evaporust, and you can tell because I haven't sanded it or treated it. Some of the rust is starting to come back. You gotta treat that stuff afterwards, but definitely much better and easier to get in there. I'm going to go ahead and sand some of that and then put some primer and paint after I get it cleaned up a little bit further. The other thing is I did the same thing to the underside of this, and you probably did see what this looked like before. This was all kind of rusted and stuff, so I'm going to do the same thing. Just clean up the little bit of rust, that surface rust that's come back, and try to treat it as best I can with some spray paint or something like that without removing everything. I don't want to really go to town on this thing. If I did, I would remove all of this, all the switches and all that crap. And the other thing is, I was able to get some, I'll be careful with this thing. Oh boy. Let's see the shake. Does it work? Alright. Let's do a shake test real quick. Let me get a lead. And I said, what did I say before? To ground it, I mean short. You short these, the positive and the negative, and it should tighten up the response of that meter. Yeah, it does seem tighter, right? Yeah, much more movement there. And if I shorten it, yeah, it's stiff. I don't know if you can notice it on camera, but whatever. So these are brand new. The meter is like a 4.5 inch. It's not quite the same, but if I move it here, I think it would actually work out okay as a replacement. It is a little bit, smaller in width, but it's about the same height. It has different holes, so I'd have to drill some mounting holes in here if I wanted to use this thing permanently. And then what else would I have to do? I need to draw something to indicate, where 6 volts are and where good and bad, and maybe color code it. I don't know, but we're gonna get this thing so I can actually use it, and then we'll figure it out. I also got this one too, which is a Panaview, and it's a little bit different. Same mounting locations. I might return this one. I like this other cheaper one better. So let me clean up these things and paint and come back. Alright, there's the finished. Yeah, I should have done flat black probably, but you can see that it looks pretty decent. I mean, I primed it and painted it inside there, and it looks pretty good. Much better than it did before. And then if we come over here to the bench, I reset up my little experiment here with a working meter. Positive goes to the positive of my microamp reading. Replace the fuse in there. That goes to a 10K resistor. Positive comes in here. Yeah, then my negative goes to the 10K resistor, which goes to the positive of the meter, and then the negative goes back to negative. Let's see if I do this right. And if I adjust my voltage, there we go. And it should go to 200 microamps. Let's see, am I doing voltage? Yeah. So we're not even at a few volts yet. Ooh. I guess it's very delicate. That is pretty darn accurate, man. And I am at probably around, 3 volts or something? It shows on there. 0.1. Yeah, I think that looks right. On that amp meter, I guess I could use my ProTech and see what it measures, but I don't think this measures microamps. So anyway, 200 microamps. That little experiment worked. That would be a good way to test these meters. Oh, why is it stuck? Almost looked like my meter's stuck a little bit. I turned it off. Maybe it takes a while for the power to drain. Alright, well anyway, it seems to be working. It's a little rough. Looks like it's a little stuck right there in that one little region. Huh. Interesting. I'm gonna hook up the other one just to see if it behaves the same. Having stuck meters and stuff. Interesting. This one looks like it's behaving very normally. I don't know if it was maybe the angle that this thing was at or something. These meters were about $9 or $10. I mean, so they're not expensive at all. That's pretty cool. 200 right on the nose. Okay, trying to be, slick. I removed the meter from this case and to see if it would fit in this case, and it doesn't. The posts are aligned differently, and as I was putting it back in, I actually screwed up this meter. It doesn't work anymore. It sucks because, but it's cheap. I mean, it's $10, whatever. It was worth me experimenting with, but I'm not going to take apart the other one. So I just really need to understand, the scale of 0 to 200 microamps and how that converts from 0 to 15 volts, as you can see here, and what gun balance is probably at, like around a couple microamps. Let's see, what's the scale? 40, so that's 20, so each one of those is like 5, something like that. I have to figure out the scale, and then we would know what our cutoff range is. So I'll try to figure that out as much as possible. Obviously 200 is 15 volts, 0 is 0 volts, and then figure out the scale there between them. So alright, put the other meter in there. That's what it looks like right there. It actually looks kind of retro. The Pana view, I don't know, it looks kind of retro. It looks actually like it goes with it. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the voltage scale on there. I had to drill 4 holes, but everything mounted up pretty easily on the inside there. So I think we're ready to start testing this thing again, or put it back in the case at a minimum. But let me go ahead and test it and see if we can get the meter to turn and all that kind of stuff. All right, here we go. My leads are in pin 1 and pin 11. We're going to go ahead and turn this thing on. Oh, we got something on the meter, which is nice. But it should be 0 volts, I think. So I might need to adjust it. Let's see. I can find a screwdriver. Alright, I know it said 200 microamps, but I don't know, the scale is messed up, so because 6.3 volts on the other one. Let me see here. That should be 2 volts. There we go, 2 volts. About 3 volts. 4. No, that's almost 5, I guess. .3 volts is almost like full range, and it should be, on the other one it was 0 to 15 volts, which is kind of wacky. I don't know, I guess this isn't going to work out too well. I mean, I guess I could get a 500 microamp range one and see if that works better. I don't know if I want to do that or not. What is the difference between these two? It said it was 200 microamp DC full scale, but when hooked up to this thing, it's not behaving the same. Yeah, I mean, and with it off, it definitely isn't aligned correctly. Turn it on, we get one volt right there. Interesting. Alright, I figured I would, I would at least, let's see here, check the G1 voltage. So I went to gun balance, put on my green gun, and I'm getting, at D, I'm getting negative 66 volts there. Hopefully you can see that. At C, 48 volts, B, 33, and A, right around 20. And I have to look up the manual here in a second. Should I grab it? Let's see here. Okay, yeah, it does say there, A should be 20, B should be around 35, C around 50, it's pretty darn close, it's within 2 volts, and D around 70, which is 66. So it's close, based off of what that one manual I had there. And if we go to blue, and we move, I know you can't really see it, but we move our blue, our reference lead here, black, to pin 7. Black to pin 7, so that's 9, 8, 7. And our red to G1, which is pin 10 for blue. Blue's G1. We get the same thing. If I can keep my leads in there. 48, 35-ish, 33, and about 20. All right, so we know our G1 is working, so the unit seems to be working. Let's go ahead and test our G2 voltage. So we'll go as reference to K. So we'll do R, K, pin 2. I'll just put this over here so you can see it. Or zoom out a little bit, I guess, maybe. There we go. So our black lead is to pin 2, and we want our G2, so red G2 is pin 4. And let's go to emissions, go to our red gun. Here. And then this knob here should adjust this maybe, let's see, 79, 80. Up to 258 volts, it looks like. I don't think it matters. Yeah, around 260 volts. So I'd have to look at the specs of the, I'll break out the manual later. But that's red. Let's go to blue, which is pin 7 to pin 6. Same thing up to 260 something volts. So the system, it seems to be working. I don't know about tracking, I have to look at that. But anyway, to me, the filament adjust works. You know, I'd have to measure the G1 shorts and all that stuff to see if there's resistance and all that stuff. But the unit seems to be working. We just have a bad meter that we can't fix. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this video. This might be in the end of the video because I believe this thing's working. If I did the live test, we'd just be looking to see the heater voltage drop. I'm not going to go through all of these tests. I don't think. Alright, I decided I am just going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I can't talk. But I might come back and see. I don't know if anybody knows, you know, if this is the original meter is like both voltage and amp. I don't know if it's like, I don't know how these meters work. So if you guys have ideas, let me know if this meter, this 200 microamp meter should work with this setup or not. I'm not sure. That's the only thing that's holding me back from doing a tube test on this thing, but I will come back and do another video and test the tube. The other thing is, even if I can't get this thing working 100% or usable, the transformers I might be able to use in my CR70 potentially. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Another fail, but I did learn some cool stuff about analog meters and stuff like that. And this tester, if you find one, I think it's going to, if the damn thing works and the meter works, I don't see why it wouldn't be a good tube tester for relatively inexpensive money. So anyway, that's it. Thanks guys for watching. Until next time.